because I want to talk about my club, Gasky, Manchester City, and their squad building. And you can tell me what you think about City's weaknesses, etc.
I'll tell you, though, when it comes to City, I would not think, based on obviously all the rumours and stuff going on, I wouldn't think it'd be a lot changing, but it could need it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, look, this has been a very odd season. I think sort of like the midway point of the season, there was a lot of talk and rumours how, this coming transfer window is going to be a massive overhaul, like 5-6 players leaving. And then sort of like the final third of the season, it seemed to be a harmonious squad, and obviously they won the treble, and you're thinking, great, just keep this group of players together, just add 1 or 2 maybe, and then it's done. But then like days after we win the treble, and we get all these rumours from, credible sources, and like the names that have been like seriously stated in terms of who they could leave. It's, Kyle Walker, who could go to Bayern Munich, Laporte, who's not played that much this season due to the system change, and he's good enough to start at a top club. There is also
Bernardo Silva.
Bernardo, in midfield and on the right wing position. Yeah, Bernardo Silva, who again has wanted to leave for a while, and could this finally be his year? Gundogan, our captain, he's out of contract, so he's still got to make the decision. And Mahrez as well. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Our other option at right wing, who might go to, again, these are players who, for the most part, are either in their late 20s or majority in their early 30s. So it could be a transfer window, actually, which is like the 17-18 window where we signed Mendy, and we signed Walker, and we signed all these other players like sort of like four or five proper first teamers to come into the team. So it could be a similar vibe there. So it's all up in the air. We don't know what's going to happen. Like this morning, for example, Kyle Walker, allegedly, he's open to staying with City rather than going Bayern.
Yeah, he's open to a new contract, wasn't he, as well?
Exactly, yeah. So it's pretty difficult. And also Cancelo, one assume, is going to leave. So it's a pretty...
It'd be weird if he stayed.
Well, yeah. Well, he literally got booed when he came on, which I thought was wrong.
I mean, it's I think both parties did the right thing in that situation. It wasn't one of those weird ones where, he's had a strop and he's let him go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree. So the way I see it is City needs a left-footed centre half, especially if Laporte's leaving. Even if he's not, I still think we need the player who I'm going to talk about. We need if Kyle Walker leaves, we might need another option there. I don't think he would be a right back. I think Pep might just go all in and sign another centre back. I don't know who. We need. If Gundogan leaves and Bernardo Silva leaves, we need at least 2 central midfielders there. And if Mahrez leaves, and as I say, Bernardo Silva for that right wing spot, we'll need at least 1 right winger as well. And also, I think we need a backup left winger, because if Grealish is out, then we don't really have that many more options there naturally. So it could actually be a really big window for City, potentially. So I'm going to give you my thoughts, Gasky, on who I'd like to see brought in. Also, I think it's realistic because, unlike your club who are like, living off coffers right now and like begging in the streets for, any amount of money to come in. City,
I would say money, I'd say players.
Yeah, just anything. City have, got a lot of money to spend this window. I think at least 300 million just from prize money, for example. So especially if players go out, it's going to generate a lot of money in transfer fees. Yeah. Basically, anyone is realistic for City, I think, from a financial perspective. So, first signing, Gasky, and this is the name that we've been linked to for like a year, and someone who's repeatedly talked about is Gvardiol, the left-footed centre-half who plays for Leipzig. Obviously, was really good at the World Cup, apart from the one time where Messi destroyed him, but Messi is Messi, to be fair. And for me, that would, even though Ake's been unbelievable this season, don't know what your thoughts are on that, Gasky, but for me, that's an immediate improvement in that area.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Yeah.
Yeah, he can play across the back as well. It's not necessarily, it's basically just what Ake does, but better. And that's what you've got to be, isn't it? To be the best, you've got to keep improving.
Yeah, also adds depth in that position. Also, he's a centre-back, so he can play in the other centre-back positions. He's left-footed, which is rare. In possession, he plays for Leipzig, they play a back 3. He's more comfortable in the wide areas than Laporte, so a huge upgrade there. And allegedly, City are have already agreed personal terms with him. It's all about a transfer fee, but he could and probably will be.
Did they want like 90 million for him or something?
Well, exactly. He's probably going to become the most expensive defender.
Yeah.
But he signed a contract extension last season.
It's a very similar situation, isn't it, to the Caicedo at Brighton. You know, I'll sign a contract so you get a good fee from it. Yeah. Type thing. So, that seems to be a common thing now.
Yeah. Maybe there's like a gentleman's agreement of, look, I'll sign this extension. I'll have more wages short term, but you'll get more money for my transfer fee. I'm assuming that's what it is. That's all I can really think of. So Gvardiol for me is coming, and that's a big upgrade. And he's a centre back. We play with 4 centre backs nowadays, so he can play left back, centre back, whatever. The midfield situation's really interesting, Gasky, because a name I had no inclination to be linked with, Declan Rice.
Yeah, it's a strange one because I think a lot of people see him as just a pure 6. He's over Rodri, which will never happen.
Quite.
But I think he's good enough to play 8. I think he's good enough to do the Gundogan role. He's good on the ball, very good on the ball, and he got a shot on him. I think he'd fit in perfectly over if Gundogan was to leave. Yeah,
because obviously the other club he's been linked with is Arsenal. Now,
see, Arsenal would be different because Partey's meant to be leaving, so it would be 6 for Arsenal.
Exactly.
That's what's weird. City would use him in a more advanced role, whereas Arsenal would use him more of a sitting role. So it's a bit of a strange one.
And that's why it's so, as you say, that's why it's so interesting. In my head, from an England perspective, we don't have any defensive midfielders, really. Calvin Phillips is the alternative to Declan Rice. So from an England perspective, I really want Rice to go to a club where he's going to be played as a 6 and develop his passing game, which would happen under Arsenal and Arteta.
Yeah.
But as you say, Declan Rice would not be signed for like £100 million or whatever the price is being quoted. He's not going to come as a £100 million player to be understudy to Rodri, because Rodri is Rodri. You're not getting rid of him, and you're not spending 100 million on a backup defensive midfielder who's never going to play. So I agree with you. He would have to come in to play that more progressive role, which he can do, because I would describe him as a ball-playing progressive 6 more than anything else. So, and I'm sure Pep would be able to coach, all the finer aspects of that game into him. So really interesting. Don't quite know if it's the best option. I'm sure there's cheaper alternatives out there that you could play in that position. But if Gundogan's leaving, we do need someone of that ilk to come in. And hey, I'd be all up for Declan Rice coming, because he's a good player, but it would just be a bit odd. Another Croatian signing, actually, who City are allegedly confirmed already, is Kovacic from Chelsea. That'd be relatively cheap, like 30 to 40 million or something. But again, he'd just be a rotational depth player.
Yeah. Because doesn't Bernardo usually sometimes play in the middle as well?
Exactly.
It is the depth is needed, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And Kovacic is a good player.
He's not bad, not bad at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure Pep can get some more juice out of him as well. So that's fine. Yes, and then now at the end of the season, Foden played much more centrally. But when we won the title, he played centrally against Chelsea, against Brighton, Brentford. And in the Champions League final, Gasky, where did he play?
He came on and played central.
Yeah, centrally, where De Bruyne was playing, like sort of at the tip, right behind the strikers. So my hope is that Foden next season is going to be given way more time in the centre to, especially with De Bruyne potentially being injured for however long at the start of the season. Yeah. Next season, I think Pep's decided that we all know that's his long-term best position anyway. I think he's now decided, right, I'm going to give you the test, these 3 games and the Champions League final. Like he wouldn't bring him on the Champions League final unless he thought that was his best position, surely.
No, exactly. Well, who would have come on over him though? In that situation that De Bruyne's getting injured.
Well, you could have moved Bernardo to the middle and then Mahrez to the right.
Yeah. Oh, you could have, yeah.
So he clearly thought he could do it, and he nearly scored 2 great goals. He can clearly do it.
So in that situation, then, if he's good enough, would you see De Bruyne maybe sitting in that 8?
Well, I think it would alternate between Kevin and Foden, because in my mind, Foden is the Kevin De Bruyne replacement
in a few years,
in long term. Yeah, and that might need to be accelerated, because I don't know the exact extent of De Bruyne's injury, but he snapped his whole hamstring off.
He's getting a lot, doesn't he? He seemed quite positive that I've seen on clips and things.
Yeah.
So, but again, he's the older you get, the longer it takes your body to repair, and he'll probably get more and more injuries. So
exactly, I think Kevin's 31 nowadays, maybe 32. So it's not saying he's going to be benched by Foden at all. Obviously, De Bruyne will still be the main man, but I think that this will be a season where we see much more Foden in the middle.
Yeah.
So so Kovacic and another central midfielder, whether it's Rice, whether it's whoever, we need another one. Left wing, Grealish is obviously the starter. I think we need more depth there, especially because Foden was the alternative there. But if Foden's going to be more central, we need another left wing option. I like Matoma Gasky, of Brighton.
Yeah, he's not bad. He'll be another one that needs a lot of coaching.
Yeah,
so
he's very, very raw, isn't he? But
there's a player in there.
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be fantastic. It just needs to be a backup player. That's
exactly,
all.
Yeah, with potential.
Yeah, for sure. Striker is, we obviously don't need a replacement for.
You've arguably got the two best strikers in the Premier League, bar Kane. So
exactly. But so then the right wing position for me is the biggest. I don't know what's going on at City. And just going back to Ed's question, he says, what position in your squad is the weakest? Now, it's not the weakest currently, but it will be.
It can go from being one of the strongest to the weakest in the space of a week.
Yeah, if Bernardo Silva and Mahrez both go, and they're both mooted as potentially going, we will have literally no out and out right wing player. Literally, because Cole Palmer, who's a youth player, that's his best position, but there's been lots of talk about him being loaned out, so he's clearly not ready. Obviously, otherwise we wouldn't be loaning him out. So for me, Gasky, the right wing is the main area that City have got to focus on, and I struggle with who that might be. I don't know if you've got any ideas, because
it's a rare position, because
you've got to be left-footed to do what we want to do with City. So already you're eliminating 80% of footballers.
Cut in, yeah.
Exactly.
There's not much. Think of something. There's not much there that's realistic. Not just plucking a name out of thin air.
Exactly.
But it's
the dream would be Saka. Obviously, that is never happening.
No, Saka would be perfect, but he's about to sign a new contract. He just signed a new contract, so that's not going to happen.
Exactly. He's never going to leave Arsenal.
That type of player.
Exactly. And we did this on stream, actually. We were talking about, who could play there. Crystal Palace's Olise has been quoted.
But actually, Olise for me is one that will soon find his peak. I don't think he's got that extra bit to play for a big club, but you never know.
Yeah.
But I think he deserves the move. I think even Eze at Palace as well. They deserve that move at some point.
Yeah, I think he maybe could become something, but it's far too soon for him. Surely.
No, yeah, definitely
too soon. So I was like thinking, because again, Pep doesn't want, because the names you might say, like these really like quick, pacey, wide players or whatever, that are direct and full of running, but Pep doesn't really want those sorts of players anymore. He wants someone in the mold of Mahrez, Bernardo Silva, Jack Grealish, a wide player who's going to control the ball,
pass and move type player, rather than a pacey one.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than some, like a Rashford equivalent or a Salah who's just going to run at you, that sort of thing. So this is why I really struggled with it, and my conclusion was, if Mahrez and Bernardo leave, outside of Ousmane Dembele, who is both-footed, but is horribly injury-prone and probably won't leave Barca anyway, the only sort of alternative I could think of was, and what I think will sadly happen, is I think Foden's going to be playing there majority of next season.
If you look at across the board, players that are there now, he's the only one who would even be able to play there.
Yeah, because that is on paper his second best position. That was his position when he's played there for like England under 17s or whatever. He's played there for City. Ideally, what you need is either someone like Grealish but left-footed, or you need a central midfielder who is left-footed and can play on the wings. That's what Bernardo Silva was.
Yeah,
that's what Foden is. But then that doesn't really help me with what I want Foden to be, which is more of a central player.
Yeah.
So I don't actually know what's going to happen in respect to the squad building. We haven't been linked heavily to any wide players. I'm sure City got their eyes on people.
But it's because it's all relying on ifs and buts. It's all if they do leave, these players. So
if Bernardo stays, problem over. Exactly.
Or if Mahrez stayed, type thing. So, but yeah, it could become a problem.
Yeah. So absolutely, Gvardiol must come in. Even if Gundogan and Bernardo stay, I still think we should sign Kovacic because we still need that depth. So that's at least 2, even assuming best case scenario, Gundogan and Bernardo extend, and then we need 1, maybe 2 options out wide, so left wing and right wing, because even if they aren't leaving, these are still players in their late 20s, early 30s. We do need to be thinking about the future. So is that realistic, Asky? Like 4, maybe 5 good signings?
Yes, I'd say the defender and the midfielder, and then a winger each. Probably fair. I think right now, left wing, definitely. In the future, right wing is needed, but that'll also depend on, departures.